Continuing from the last chapter, Xiao Yan harnessed the power of flames derived from the fusion of 23 types of heavenly flames to refine an emperor-grade pill using 3 primary ingredients. The extraction of these 3 primary ingredients was exceptionally demanding. Without a specialized extraction method, it would be nearly impossible to extract the desired medicinal properties from them, and a single mistake could even cause the cauldron to explode. This was especially true for ingredients like the snow-paste Ganoderma and the dragon blood immortal vine. The refinement of the snow-paste Ganoderma was even more challenging than the shaping pill Xiao Yan had previously refined at the Alchemist Association. The process involved harmonizing nearly 20 different supplementary ingredients and took Xiao Yan almost 4 days to successfully extract a drop of white liquid, resembling marrow. After successfully refining the snow-paste Ganoderma, Xiao Yan turned his attention to the dragon blood immortal vine. This vine was incredibly tough, and after being bathed in dragon blood, it became even more resilient. Legend has it that the vine contains a trace of dragon blood aura, neither wood nor metal. Its resistance to fire was notably high, so much so that even with Xiao Yan's assistance of heavenly flames, it took him a full 3 days to cause cracks to appear on its surface. As the dragon blood immortal vine began to crack, over 20 light clusters flew into the cauldron midair to neutralize the violent aura within the vine. Eventually, Xiao Yan refined all the auxiliary herbs into droplets of potent medicinal liquid, which settled on the green vine. Using the harmonizing effects of these numerous herbs, Xiao Yan managed to suppress the raging dragon blood aura. About half an hour later, the vine, now resembling a dried twig, finally burst open, scattering pale red powder that Xiao Yan's spiritual power condensed into a red powder ball. With the extraction of 2 ingredients complete, it was time for the final ingredient, the greenwood fruit, to undergo the first step of refining the pill, the extraction and refinement of the medicinal materials. Interestingly, the hardness of the greenwood fruit surpassed that of the snow-paste Ganoderma and the dragon blood immortal vine. Even with Xiao Yan's flame, fused from 23 types of heavenly flames, it took him 6 full days to complete the extraction. Xiao Yan couldn't help but marvel at the amount of time required to refine high-grade pills. With the successful extraction of all 3 primary ingredients, Xiao Yan and the Golden Dragon King, who floated midair, both sighed in relief. Earlier, Xiao Yan's rapid refining techniques had dazzled the Golden Dragon King. Although he wasn't deeply knowledgeable about pill refining, he could still sense the smooth, fluid nature of Xiao Yan's technique, which was quite pleasing to watch. Seeing Xiao Yan split his spiritual power into 3 and simultaneously refine 3 ingredients was enough to surprise even the Golden Dragon King. Throughout history, no one had achieved such a feat. After all, pill refining requires a vast reserve of spiritual power. Xiao Yan's decision to divide his spiritual power into 3 while simultaneously refining 3 sets of ingredients placed a significant burden on himself. Although this greatly shortened the refining time, it also placed immense stress on his spiritual power. During pill refining, the greatest fear is the sudden exhaustion of spiritual power mid-process. The Golden Dragon King was worried that if Xiao Yan faced any mishap, the destruction of the pill would be a minor concern compared to potential injury. Fortunately, Xiao Yan succeeded. This tri-split refining method was something even Toasha had not managed to accomplish in his time. After extracting the 3 main ingredients, the magical core succumbed to the fierce flames wielded by Xiao Yan, transforming into a bead the size of an eye. Upon seeing the 4-sided shape within the cauldron, Xiao Yan paused briefly to rest, then refocused his mind. After a moment of contemplation, he retrieved a jade vial from his storage ring and slowly tilted it. Soon, a drop of familiar crimson blood fell out. The drop of crimson blood hovered in front of Xiao Yan. Though small in volume, the violent, bloodthirsty energy it contained was not to be underestimated. This crimson blood, of course, was extracted from the bloodthirsty demon dragon lizard that Xiao Yan had encountered in the ruins. Given that the beast's strength was comparable to that of a 4-star Do-D, its level was evidently high enough to meet the requirements for refining a foundation-strengthening pill. If successful, the pill's quality would likely be even greater. As the drop of crimson blood appeared, Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel a pang of regret. This was a treasure capable of withstanding a full-force strike from a 4-star Do-D. Xiao Yan's gaze remained fixed on the drop of blood. After a brief pause, he flicked his finger, sending the blood gently floating into the cauldron. As soon as the crimson blood entered the cauldron, the potent and bloody energy it contained whipped up gusts of wind within. Seeing this, Xiao Yan frowned slightly, hesitated for a moment, then clenched his teeth. The medicinal liquids and powders extracted from the snow-paste Ganoderma, greenwood fruit, and dragonblood immortal vine were then thrown directly into the cauldron alongside the crimson blood, attempting to fuse them. All three ingredients, each containing extremely potent energies, erupted with imposing auras under Xiao Yan's control. It was as if none of them would yield to the others, and the three clusters of ingredients fiercely opposed each other. Damn it! Condense for me! Xiao Yan hadn't anticipated that the refined powers from the snow-paste Ganoderma, greenwood fruit, and dragonblood immortal vine would possess a slight consciousness, complicating the fusion process. But Xiao Yan unleashed his Do-Chi, his vast spiritual power sweeping through the cauldron, carefully guiding the three forces to merge gradually. As soon as the medicinal powers of the three ingredients fell into the crimson blood, they caused not the slightest ripple. Just as Xiao Yan was about to breathe a sigh of relief, a violent surge of energy suddenly erupted from within the crimson blood, slamming fiercely against the inner walls of the cauldron. Instantly, a clear and resonant sound wave spread rapidly, affecting the entire wooden cabin. The heavy cauldron trembled violently at this moment. If it were an ordinary cauldron, it would likely have shattered from the impact. Xiao Yan's expression shifted unpredictably as he stared at the drop of crimson blood within the cauldron, which was now violently churning. Its once smooth surface had sprouted slender spikes, making it look like a hedgehog in a defensive state. Within this churning mass was an indescribably violent energy fluctuation. Waves of energy continuously struck the cauldron's walls, and the piercing sound waves reverberated throughout the wooden cabin. At this point, almost everyone in the Xiao family could tell that something had gone slightly awry with Xiao Yan's refining process. Is he all right? On a quiet path, Yuru furrowed her beautiful brows slightly and cast a worried glance toward the wooden cabin where Xiao Yan was. However, Xiao Yan's gaze remained fixed on the clusters of medicinal powers within the cauldron. His Do-Chi surged entirely into the cauldron, instantly suppressing the internal turbulence. At the same time, his spiritual power flooded out, permeating every corner of the cauldron. Fuse for me. Refining pills demands that all the ingredients be catalyzed by flame, melting into pure liquid form, and then their medicinal powers are perfectly merged. This fusion must be maintained at an exceedingly delicate level, which is why spiritual power becomes the most crucial factor determining an alchemist's achievements. This unexpected turn of events caught Xiao Yan off guard because every step he had taken was precisely according to the recipe, without the slightest error, yet problems still arose. Clearly, there was something within these steps that eluded his grasp. Earlier, Xiao Yan had not known which step had deviated, but the moment flames surged in his eyes, he had a moment of realization. The issue was not with the medicinal liquid he had extracted, but with the crimson blood and the powdered form of the dragonblood immortal vine. This drop of crimson blood had been extracted from the bloodthirsty demon dragon lizard within the ruins. The violent energy it contained far exceeded the requirements for refining the foundation strengthening pill. The violent power within the blood could not be perfectly harmonized by the medicinal powers of the snow-paste Ganoderma and greenwood fruit alone. In other words, the blood's power was too strong, while the medicinal powers were too weak, making it difficult to achieve a balanced state. Moreover, the bloodthirsty demon dragon lizard possessed traces of dragon blood, albeit minuscule. But even a trace of dragon blood is genuine, and true dragons, even on the Do-D continent, are synonymous with dominance, pride, and strength. The dragon blood immortal vine had also been bathed in dragon blood, so the real issue was that the faint dragon blood aura within both was activated by Xiao Yan's heavenly flames during the refinement. Now, as soon as the two came into contact, their auras clashed violently. The residual dragon blood aura in the crimson blood, derived from the bloodthirsty demon dragon lizard, clashed intensely with the residual dragon blood aura in the dragon blood immortal vine. Having identified the problem, Xiao Yan's brows remained furrowed. The current solution was either to harmonize the blood's power or replace it with another type of magical beast blood. However, besides the crimson blood of the bloodthirsty demon dragon lizard, Xiao Yan hadn't prepared any other high-quality blood. Given the circumstances, he had no choice but to opt for the former. Xiao Yan gazed thoughtfully at the refined blood surrounded by spikes, resembling a hedgehog, and the red powder of the dragon blood immortal vine enveloped in a faint energy shield. As a thought crossed his mind, Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. With a wave of his hand, the clusters of light hovering in midair were drawn into the cauldron, enveloped by a milky white flame. Within minutes, under Xiao Yan's exquisite control, the ingredients were slowly refined and fused into a drop of pale blue liquid. Xiao Yan watched the drop of blue liquid, imbued with a gentle energy. With a subtle flick of his finger, the liquid slowly descended, merging into the now violently churning crimson blood and the powdered dragon blood immortal vine. The drop of liquid, infused with the essence of numerous medicinal ingredients, fell into the crimson blood and powder. Its inherent soothing properties had an immediate effect, causing the rapidly extending and retracting spikes on the blood surface to slowly retract back into the body. Seeing this, Xiao Yan let out a slight sigh of relief. However, just as the sigh escaped his throat, it abruptly froze. He clearly sensed two faint yet imposing presences gradually emanating from the crimson blood and the powder. On the surface of the crimson blood and the powdered dragon blood immortal vine, two faint, miniature dragon shadows coiled around them. Low dragon roars filled with hostility echoed within the wooden cabin. The moment these imposing presences appeared, Xiao Yan's dou qi faltered slightly within him. Immediately after, the once calmed crimson blood and powder started boiling again, their surfaces surging wildly with a rapidly escalating violent energy that could make anyone's face change color. The sudden turn of events caused Xiao Yan's expression to change. The dragon roar-like pressure emanating from the blood and powder caused even someone with Xiao Yan's composure to be momentarily stunned. What's going on? The Golden Dragon King, clearly not an expert in alchemy, asked somewhat confusedly upon seeing the two miniature dragon shadows within the cauldron. There's a problem with the fusion of the crimson blood and the dragon blood immortal vine, Xiao Yan replied in a deep voice. Xiao Yan's gaze was now locked onto the crimson blood and red powder. The biggest problem indeed lay here. Yu glanced towards the wooden cabin, a solemn look flashing in her eyes. Judging from the pressure emanating from the blood, its owner must have been an immensely terrifying existence in life, perhaps even a mythical beast of the Emperor rank 4-star. Where on earth did Xiao Yan obtain such high-grade magical beast blood? I wonder where this young friend Xiao Yan got such magical beast blood that it contains this level of pressure. From what I know, in the powerful magical beast clans on the Xinling continent, every clan member is born with a spiritual steel. Within that steel is a wisp of their soul. As long as this soul fragment remains, no one else can obtain their bloodline. If the steel is shattered, it signifies the clan member's death, and the clan would send strong members to retrieve their remains, ensuring nothing falls into outsiders' hands. This situation seems very similar to that. But how could such a magical beast with a spiritual steel appear here? Yu pondered to herself from atop a pavilion, noticing the commotion in the wooden cabin where Xiao Yan was. This magical beast was found in the ruins. It contains a trace of dragon blood. In life, it was likely at the peak of the Emperor rank 4-star, possibly breaking through to the 5-star level. A magical beast of this caliber, even just a drop of its blood essence, can emit such an overwhelming presence. It seems this beast indeed deserved its reputation as a dragon-blooded magical beast, Yu softly remarked. If it's from within ruins, that makes sense. Yu nodded in realization. After all, many treasures and magical beasts of immense power could be found within ruins. Let's just watch from here. If it becomes impossible, we'll step in, Yu suggested. After all, it was well known that alchemists had to rely solely on themselves to refine pills. External assistance was futile. Yu nodded, gently biting her lips. A glimmer of determination flashed in Xiao Yan's eyes. The dragon roar-like pressure emanating from the crimson blood and the powdered dragon blood immortal vine continued to resist the harmonization of the various medicinal powers. It seemed that there were traces of pride lingering within both, a pride born of their bloodline. This pride would not allow them to submit to their kind, much less be refined into a pill for others to consume. No matter how powerful you were in life, now, you're nothing but ownerless materials. I refuse to believe I can't subdue you. Provoked by the continued resistance emanating from the crimson blood and the powdered dragon blood immortal vine, a flicker of anger ignited within Xiao Yan. With a cold snort, he flicked his finger, causing the combined medicinal powers of the snow-paste Ganoderma and another ingredient to appear in his hand. Flames surged on his palm, and he promptly threw them into the cauldron's blazing fire. The resistance from these two elements far exceeded Xiao Yan's expectations. However, this also indicated the immense energy contained within them. If he could successfully refine them into a foundation-strengthening pill, the quality would undoubtedly reach an exceptionally high level. As thoughts churned in his mind, a droplet of crimson liquid emerged from the cauldron, hovering in the flames within Xiao Yan's palm. I refuse to believe I can't tame you. Gritting his teeth, Xiao Yan flicked his finger, and the crimson droplet transformed into a red shadow, diving back into the cauldron in an attempt to mediate the clash between the crimson blood and the powder. The crimson liquid Xiao Yan had refined was meant to neutralize the energies of both. When the crimson liquid fell into the crimson blood, the violent energy within the latter momentarily subsided. But soon, under that oppressive force, it surged back even more ferociously. It seemed that Xiao Yan's repeated provocations had only fueled the pressure emanating from the blood, growing stronger with each instance. Eventually, Xiao Yan's vision blurred suddenly, and he saw two fierce miniature dragon heads, originally coiled on their respective elements, leap out of the cauldron and charge toward him. After a brief clash, the dragon shadow atop the blood essence and the one on the dragon blood immortal vine seemed to reach an understanding. Realizing Xiao Yan was attempting to control and fuse them, both phantom dragon heads started to rush toward Xiao Yan. However, before they could leave the cauldron, they were intercepted by the overwhelming milky white flames. Despite this, a low, muffled grunt escaped Xiao Yan's throat. He was startled to find that his spiritual power had weakened slightly. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Yan's eyes widened with even greater shock. The refining of the foundation-strengthening pill had been abruptly interrupted due to the cursed dragon blood within these two substances. If the trace of dragon blood within them couldn't be expelled, the pill could never be successfully refined. You can't drive away that opposition using ordinary methods, the Golden Dragon King remarked. Since it contains the aura of dragon blood, you should use the most direct method. The moment the miniature dragon shadows appeared, the Golden Dragon King had noticed the abnormality within the cauldron. However, he wanted to see what Xiao Yan would do. Now, seeing Xiao Yan becoming increasingly anxious, he rolled his eyes and said sharply. Hearing this, Xiao Yan was momentarily stunned, then let out a bitter laugh. All he knew now was that if he didn't eliminate the pressure within the bloodline soon, his precious, rare ingredients would be wasted for nothing. Roar! A low dragon roar echoed within the small wooden cabin, lingering long after it was emitted. With the appearance of this faint dragon roar, the wooden cabin fell into a brief silence. Then, Xiao Yan was astonished to notice that the dragon shadow energy clashing between the crimson blood and the red powder was rapidly dissipating, like snow meeting boiling water. Xiao Yan stared dumbfounded at the changes within the cauldron. Because his spiritual power was spread throughout, he could clearly sense that the opposing forces were swiftly dissolving, revealing a faint terror akin to a subject meeting their sovereign. In just a few breaths, the formidable pressure that had been giving Xiao Yan such a headache vanished completely. This shift left him staring blankly at his master, the Golden Dragon King, who was floating mid-air, filled with doubt and curiosity. "What are you standing around for? Start fusing the pill? I'm not an alchemist, after all." The Golden Dragon King shouted back at Xiao Yan, feigning nonchalance. Hearing this, Xiao Yan quickly suppressed his shock and focused his gaze on the 5 clusters of light now calm within the cauldron. The 5 clusters of light: snow-paste Ganoderma, greenwood fruit, dragon blood immortal vine, a magical core, and the essence blood, all dimmed and ceased their resistance under the force of his master's dragon roar. With the oppressive force within the blood now expelled, the medicinal powers of the snow-paste Ganoderma and other ingredients slowly began to release, gradually merging with the immense power within the blood, starting a slow and steady fusion. Thanks to his master's dragon roar, Xiao Yan barely managed to pass this challenge. Though it had been risky, it wasn't without gain. The energy contained within the current mixture of medicinal liquid was exceptionally potent. Not only did it include the essence blood of the bloodthirsty demon dragon lizard, but also rare ingredients like the dragon blood immortal vine and greenwood fruit. Such a luxurious combination meant the refined foundation strengthening pill would likely surpass its original potential. After helping Xiao Yan resolve the lingering dragon shadow, the Golden Dragon King did not speak further to disturb him. Knowing that fusing the pill required concentration, he merely cast a somewhat envious glance at the churning medicinal liquid within the cauldron before smacking his lips. With a quick movement, he returned to the ring. An alchemist is a highly sought-after profession. Who wouldn't want to become an alchemist desired by all? However, the Golden Dragon King knew his racial limitations prevented him from pursuing alchemy, so he did not dwell on the matter further. But about the dragon roar he had just unleashed, "I should probably lay low for a while. Don't want anyone to find out," he muttered to himself as he retreated back into the ring. That roar is comparable to a true dragon's. It seems this magical beast dragon blood is quite close to that of a real dragon. Yu murmured, having caught the dragon roar despite the Golden Dragon King's deliberate suppression, though she assumed it was the roar of a magical beast. Now that the issue has been resolved, it seems the rest of the refining process is just a matter of time, isn't it? Haha. If this kid can successfully refine an emperor-grade first-rank pill in one go, that would be quite impressive. From what I know, even some emperor-grade alchemists have a fairly high failure rate when refining emperor-grade pills, Yu remarked with a smile, glancing at his daughter, who seemed a bit worried. Hearing what Yu said, several elders around them nodded in agreement with a smile. To them, emperor-grade pills were almost legendary. In their lifetime, they had hardly seen one, let alone used one. After all, there were only a handful of alchemists in Qing City capable of refining emperor-grade pills, and every time they did, the cost was astronomical. Emperor-grade pills hadn't been seen for many years. Even the current president of the Qing City Alchemist Association had not refined an emperor-grade pill in recent years. While the crowd in the main hall outside the wooden cabin breathed a sigh of relief, Xiao Yan refocused his mind on the cauldron. His spiritual power poured in, capturing every reaction of the flames and the fusion of various medicinal liquids as they merged. Inside the cauldron, a milky white flame enveloped a liquid mass about the size of half a fist. This liquid was somewhat iridescent, but overall, the crimson hue dominated. However, within that crimson, several other colors were slowly blending in. Feeling the calm within the liquid mass, Xiao Yan let out a slight sigh of relief. After the earlier turmoil, the process had stabilized considerably. Judging by the current state, once all the medicinal powers were fully merged, a pill embryo would gradually begin to form. Of course, this was a slow process. According to Xiao Yan's estimation, the fusion would take at least 5 days. Taking a slow breath, Xiao Yan closed his eyes and diverted a portion of his focus to circulate the flame mantra, absorbing the surrounding energy from heaven and earth. His spiritual power remained in the cauldron, maintaining control over the fire and the fusion of the various medicinal powers. Now, all he had to do was wait patiently. And wait he did for a full 6 days. During these 6 days, the crowd that had initially gathered at the Yu family estate to watch gradually dispersed. However, almost every person, each time they stepped outside, couldn't help but glance toward the wooden cabin in the backyard. Seeing the cabin still emanating a vast, powerful spiritual energy, they couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration. The person in that wooden cabin had been made an honored guest by the head of the Yu family. On the Do-D continent, where strength was paramount, an emperor-grade alchemist certainly deserved such treatment. Over these 6 days, everyone had grown accustomed to the earlier explosions and dragon roars emanating from the wooden cabin. They didn't know how long the alchemist inside would take to complete the pill refining process. Still, having witnessed such a strange phenomenon, they were inevitably amazed. Judging by the commotion, the pill being refined was clearly of a high grade. No wonder high-grade pills were so precious. Just the refining process itself was so troublesome and intricate. During these 6 days, Yu, Ru, and others often spent some time outside the wooden cabin. Firstly, they wanted to be on hand in case Xiao Yan needed anything. And secondly, they were eager to witness the birth of an emperor-grade pill. Only when they saw that Xiao Yan remained still did they slowly leave. During these days, Xiao Yan's presence became increasingly subtle, and even his breathing grew faint, resembling a monk on the verge of nirvana, his aura elusive and hard to pin down. Had it not been for Yu's experience, knowing that refining high-grade pills required deep concentration, he might have worried that Xiao Yan had encountered some mishap during the refining process. Though Xiao Yan seemed as still as a meditative monk, the cauldron in front of him roared with the sound of thunderous explosions. A terrifying spiritual power constantly surged within it, fusing the powers of the 5 ingredients, whirling around with a deafening roar. Under this spiritual power, even the heavenly flames could only obey his command. 6 days passed slowly. As the 7th morning dawned, a ray of sunlight broke through the constraints of the earth, shooting out from a distant mountain forest and illuminating the wooden cabin. The dawn light streaming through the cabin window bathed the young man in a black robe entirely. Under the warm sunlight, Xiao Yan, whose eyes had remained tightly shut for 6 days, slowly opened them with a slight tremor. Under the sunlight, Xiao Yan's jet-black eyes reflected a dazzling glint. At that moment, his previously dormant aura began to emerge slowly from within him, like a lion awakening from its slumber. This aura was much more refined than it had been 6 days earlier. If Xiao Yan had previously been at the early stage of the 3-star peak, he now stood firmly at the peak itself, just a step away from breaking through to the 4-star level. His previous seclusion had merely restored his strength, but this time, the pill refining seemed to have brought Xiao Yan tremendous benefits. Feeling the aura emanating from his body, Xiao Yan was momentarily stunned, a thoughtful look flashing in his eyes. Over the past few days, he had indeed been in an intensely focused state, especially since this pill refining attempt had to succeed without fail. The extremely complex fusion of 5 different medicinal powers within the cauldron had not only been completely condensed by him, but also achieved with no wastage at all. Ordinarily, the success rate of refining the foundation-strengthening pill wouldn't have been very high. Given the numerous intricate procedures involved, the addition of a much stronger essence blood, and the subsequent conflict between the dragon blood immortal vine and the magical beast essence blood. Such conditions almost entirely deviated from the original formula. It should be known that even the slightest omission of a seemingly insignificant ingredient in a recipe could result in a failed refinement. After all, every formula had been perfected through countless trials by predecessors. For someone to change it arbitrarily was unimaginably difficult. Xiao Yan's gaze slowly turned towards the cauldron. Within it, enveloped by flames, was the embryonic form of a purple-red pill. A relieved smile appeared on his face. The pill embryo was about the size of a longan, entirely purple-red, with a pitted surface that looked quite unappealing. However, Xiao Yan could sense the immense, pure medicinal power within it. A power capable of greatly enhancing a person's cultivation aptitude, an effect almost defying the natural order. It's widely known that one's cultivation talent and potential are innate. While this does not solely determine a person's future achievements, there is no doubt that those born with strong talent and potential receive excellent nurturing. Improving talent and potential is extremely difficult, but this so-called foundation strengthening pill could achieve that. For this reason alone, it deserved its emperor-grade reputation. The basic form of the pill had been completed. The next step was the final stage, nurturing the pill. This step presented no significant obstacles, as all the medicinal powers within the pill embryo had already merged perfectly. In other words, even without this final step, the pill embryo would still retain its effectiveness. However, as an alchemist, Xiao Yan naturally pursued perfection. Therefore, he did not skip this last step. The milky white flame slowly weakened, emitting a faint warmth that gradually permeated the pill embryo. The final step of nurturing the pill didn't take long. After about 10 hours, the pitted pill embryo in the flames had completely transformed into a smooth, thumb-sized pill, half red and half purple. The pill's red and purple dual colors, resembling a Taiji symbol, were outlined on its surface, giving it an appearance that seemed almost sentient, extraordinarily mysterious. At the moment when the pill had just taken form, the sky above the Yu family's estate suddenly darkened. Thick layers of dark clouds rapidly gathered in the sky, with silver lightning snaking through the clouds like silver serpents. The sudden change in the sky immediately caused everyone in the Yu family to stop in their tracks, staring in astonishment at the overlapping dark clouds above. Moments later, as if by a mutual understanding, all their gazes turned sharply towards the wooden cabin in the backyard. At that moment, a dark figure stood atop the cabin, hands clasped behind his back, gazing fearlessly at the strange phenomenon in the sky.